It's been a long, long road to get here, ladies and gentlemen. We came through 2 group stages, 5 qualifiers. Count them and weep. We started with 32 teams, and we're now down to 4. Na'Vi, Liquid in the lower bracket, EG, and Alliance in the upper bracket. But here we are. It's time for our lower bracket, not finals, but I guess you can call it the semifinals, the second to last match of the lower bracket. The winner of this match moves on to your loser bracket finals. The loser goes home. It's all coming down to this. Liquid versus Na'Vi, a match that I hope will be one to remember. I'm LD of Beyond the Summit. I'm joined here today by Gods. And game 1 now officially underway. Gods, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited that we get ourselves into a new series. Unfortunately, our first series kind of cut off midway through. We will get back to it later on. At least that's the plan with the schedule. But for now, we'll see if we can get ourselves underway with Liquid versus Na'Vi. Last time these two teams met, Liquid 2-0'd Na'Vi. So you can't sort of blame servers or anything. Liquid won both games, one on USC server, one on Europe server. And here they are, Na'Vi looking for some revenge.
Yeah, can Na'Vi get that revenge, though? We'll have to wait and see. The draft underway. Nyx Assassin, the first pick for Liquid. Plenty of other explosive and signature heroes available in the pool for them. Of course, you look at heroes like the Clockwork for Bulba. That's still available. TC, if he wants to go ahead and pick up a Luna, that'll be at his disposal. As for Na'Vi, well, there's always that Dendi Skywrath Mage. There's the Pudge, which they've experimented with on and off. Not sure we'll be seeing it today, even though he's got the Pudge icon. If you've been watching Dendi's pub stream, whatever hero icon he has is the one he's been training lately in pub. So Pudge apparently is on the menu. Will Dendi be the food, or will he be the one eating the feast? We'll just have to wait and see, but they'll start with the Rubik. They'll follow up with the Lone Druid. Pretty standard, safe options. The Rubik for Kuroki, almost certainly, and then the Lone Druid most likely going into Funnick's hands.
Yeah, I imagine so. And this is pretty strong picks coming out from Na'Vi. You'd expect the Lone Druid here. It's sort of one of those heroes which Na'Vi does rate a lot higher than some of the other teams. Liquid themselves pick and play quite a lot of Lone Druid, as Liquid now with 2 picks up their sleeves. What do they look to grab? Keeper of the Light probably, if they want to grab their other support here, the one hero you may see them looking to get.
Yeah, let's see what they go for now. Liquid generally not known for picking those huge 5-man type of heroes, much more so interested in heroes that can just start fights and find pickoffs. And of course, for those heroes, we've got a Kuroki in this game. We've also got ourselves a Korok. The only thing we're missing is Koronity. But something like a Templar Assassin, certainly an option for them. Against Lone Druid can be a bit of a tough pickle between Entangle and whatnot, but the minus armor is fantastic against the Bear. We'll have to see. Na'Vi hasn't selected their solo mid yet, so maybe something they wait on until the second stage. They've already got that support Nyx Assassin. I imagine it will be Fluff and Stuff handling that. We still don't have IX Mike support. There's a Keeper of the Light in the pool as well. They'll go for a Darkseer and the Keeper of the Light, so tons of lane control, tons of presence in the early stage, and it could be a solo mid Darkseer, but more likely it's probably going to be something Bulba takes.
Yeah, more likely Bulba in the off lane or even straight into the jungle. It's a lot of lane control, but not really strong enough lanes to go offensive tri-lane too easily because of how weak Nyx Assassin can be in that offensive tri-lane unless they get a really strong tri-lane farmer. Maybe they even send Darkseer to the tri-lane, something LGD International started doing and became a bit of a trend with a few teams here and there. So there's a couple different options for Liquid. Na'Vi, they go straight into the Chen for Puppey. They've now got themselves their 2 supports, but Puppey on the Chen is something to be feared.
It's a Puppey Chen, and it also means it denies Fluff and Stuff any sort of jungle play of his own. I mean, he could go for the Enchantress, but expect a support Nyx and a support Keeper, which means no room for him to play one of those 2 heroes. So Na'Vi get really an incredible 5-man group up and push lineup at the same time, if they want to go that direction. At the same time, though, Liquid have incredible counter push of their own. So it's an interesting game. Juggernaut, the obvious ban. I was just about to say, you have Lone Druid, you have Chen, and you're up against Keeper of the Light. You would love a healing ward if you want to go and push, but ain't going to be happening this game. A very sensible ban from Liquid, and a pretty obvious one to start off the second stage.
Yeah, not surprised at all. Something we take it easy, put into Havos's hands. I'd even like to see something like a Nature's Prophet ban coming out from Liquid. Sure, it would have to go... Well, it could go into the off lane with Lone Druid safe lane, but it could even go in the mid lane, have either Dendi or someone playing him in the mid lane. It's a very strong pushing hero to add to what Na'Vi have already got. As for Liquid, I guess the main question is, do they go for their standard gyrocopter carry? Is that going to be sort of enough to sort of counter push what Na'Vi's looking to sort of pull together here with their pushing lineup.
Yeah, Gyrocopter feels like the obvious choice. I mentioned Luna earlier, but she is really not good against Chen and Lone Druid. That's too many creeps and things to tank Eclipse damage. The Glaives as well aren't going to do that much against the team that builds a really early mech, as well as having Lone Druid with his high base armor. So the physical damage, the magical damage are mostly going to be soaked up. It really feels like a game where you have Darkseer, you have Vacuum. Flat Cannon would be the reliable, obvious follow-up, but that's assuming it gets through. And right now, for Na'Vi, they see Liquid needs a carry, they see they need a solo, and it seems like the carries are really what they want to focus on. The bans, at least so far, they'll ban out the PL. I don't feel like I feel like you could give Korok his Queen of Pain, his Puck, his TA. I don't think that's going to bother Na'Vi too much, because you give him, especially, maybe you ban the Puck, but something like the TA, Na'Vi wants to group at this point. At least it looks like it towards the mid-game, and TA's really not that scary. They'll actually go ahead and ban out the Slark, which is sort of that counter to the TA in the mid lane that we've seen.
Yeah. I like the banner. It's something Liquid have had great success. They haven't lost with it. Other teams have tried picking it and lost with it, but Liquid themselves have won every game they've played it.
It's also, I feel like with Liquid, there's certain heroes they like. Take those away from them. Force them out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also here that Na'Vi probably have never played against in a competitive match, so they're probably thinking, hey, let's try and avoid this.
Yeah, why the hell not? And for Na'Vi, where do they go? They don't really have that Dendi hero either, so... Skywrath Mage we've seen, but it seems like more of a counter to Magnus in particular, just for the silence as well as the ability to dominate him in the lane. And, well, there's no mag, so I don't think we're going to see one this game.
I think it's still a great pick just because of how much burst damage it can put out, which is something that Na'Vi are lacking right now. Even if you want to go for like a pushing style lineup, you need a hero killer. You can't really push without killing enemy heroes, which Skywrath Mage does offer. So I think it's still a decent pick, but there's plenty of other heroes which Dendi can also handle. You mentioned the Pudge. I'd love to see a Pudge-Chen combo coming out here in Game 1. That would really set things off to a fast tempo.
Well, we did get it and we played on TV, but that was the show match versus Rox Kaspersky. I don't know if we'll see it here today, but we'll have to wait and see. For Na'Vi, the only issue I have with them getting a Skywrath Mage is they're a little bit light on true lockdown right now. Entangle, Telekinesis, not the most reliable. Chen creeps, good in the early game, not something you can really count on as it goes later. And Skywrath Mage, yes, he has the silence, but eventually you got a BKB on some of these heroes, like a Luna, for example, and won't offer you a whole lot. So let's see where they go for with this next pick. Luna is the choice from Liquid, so even though there's a Chen and a Lone Druid, they're still going to take it.
Yeah, they'll still take it. It's, I mean, not the best for stopping a push, but I guess they're just looking for a bit sort of the strong lanes. I think if you get a strong enough lead early on by having the superior lanes, you can sort of deal with the push just with an item advantage here. Na'Vi themselves, well,
10 seconds remaining.
they're not all about the push. That's the other thing you have to take into consideration. Just because you've got the Lone Druid Chen doesn't mean you're looking to sort of end the game in the first 15 to 25 minutes. You can just sit back, play a more farm-oriented game, even go into another sort of carry or semi-carry for Havost here and some kind of controlling hero for Dendi and Midden. Alchemist, wow.
I really like this. They're on the dire side. This is something that we see a lot of the Chinese teams take as a solo mid. I imagine it'll be Havost in the safe lane, but if you want to play it as a solo mid, Acid Spray spam is great. It even does well against a hero like Darkseer. So we'll see where they go with this, but most likely Havost to take this to the safe lane. And being on the dire side, Acid Spray as well as Chen Creeps and Lone Druid, they can go for a very early Roshan if Liquid isn't careful. So I like this pick from Na'Vi, and I think it's something that it's flexible. It can take them late if they want to. It can deal with the early group up and fight if Liquid want to do that. So I think it's a pretty versatile and safe pick.
Okay, DK for Liquid. So they go for a dual core lineup. Well, I guess the Darkseer is considered a core hero, but a dual carry lineup with the DK as well as the Luna. And I think this is the kind of hero they need to fight Na'Vi. DK the stun helps and offers a lot of lockdown for the Alchemist. Also a very high armor hero to negate a lot of that damage. So I like this pick a lot from Liquid.
I do too, and it also gives them someone who can be in the front lines. Against Lone Druid, Alchemist, Chen, these heroes can actually do quite a bit of damage to whoever's trapped in the front. You want DK up there. You kind of want Luna, TC to sort of skate in at the right moment. So it looks like, I suppose, a Korok Dragon Knight going mid, or maybe he takes the Darkseer and Dragon Knight goes to the tri-lane, and it will be the Dendi Skywrath Mage.
Okay. Well, I guess the one thing we didn't get to see is the Bulba Clockwork, but I guess because of the early Darkseer pick, they don't get to get that, and Clockwork doesn't match up too well against the Lone Druid. So Dendi, Skywrath Mage's last pick, this will be almost guaranteed your solo mid, and up against a DK, this is a pretty tough matchup for a DK, assuming he's at mid.
Yeah, we'll see if the DK's there. It could be the Darkseer, but Bulba's currently handling it, and if he is, then we expect Korok takes his Dragon Knight mid, so maybe they just give him a little extra pooled regen so he can rush the bottle sooner. Perhaps he gets courier priority. We'll have to see exactly how they look to deal with it. The other lanes, Luna probably going to the safe... Well, I guess they don't really have an... they could throw Bulba in the jungle, so I guess a defensive tri-lane with the Luna, the Keeper like the Nyx. They do need a lot of levels, and he's Korok going to be playing the Luna, so scratch that thought. TC will take his Dragon Knight to the safe lane, and Korok, most likely, unless they do a swap here, is going to be handling Luna mid. Luna versus Skywrath, I haven't seen the matchup played, but just on paper, it would seem to be like Skywrath should still have a bit of an advantage, at least
I
think
I still consider sending DK mid, just because of... I think Luna does even worse. Luna does much worse than DK mid.
Yeah, because the thing is, I mean, she doesn't have a spammable farming nuke, so she's going to have to be near the creeps trying to auto-attack, and Skywrath, it's an even easier hero to harass, although Dendy's actually headed top, so we'll see. It doesn't even look like he's... If he's built for mid, he's getting a lot of extra damage, definitely not rushing a bottle. Well, we'll have to wait and see.
The great thing about the DK mid is you just have to bottle crow. It's kind of, you play it like a mag where you sit back, spam your nuke, not have to worry about hero Luna mid. Bottle crowing doesn't help you farm. You can maybe spam Lucent Beam, but you're not going to win the lane by bottle crowing. DK, you're not winning the lane, but you're breaking even, something which Luna can't do against Skywrath.
So they'll most likely look to send Korok to the safe lane. Liquid loves their aggressive tri-lanes. They are grouped up towards the top, but it's going to be a very tough tri-lane if they want to go for it. Let's see, though. On the side of Team Liquid, in Game 1 of this best of 3, your loser bracket, not finals, but your second to last loser bracket match, winner of this moves on to play the loser of EG versus Alliance. That match on hold with the Alliance currently leading 1-0. Game 2, we had some connectivity issues. We'll come back to it later. It will all be settled by the time today is over. Bulba on the Darks here towards the mid lane. TC going to be handling the Dragon Knight Fluff on the Nyx Assassin, has a pair of Sentry Wards to his name. IX Mike, going to be playing that Keeper of the Light. And last but not least, Korok, going to be handling the Luna.
Well, as for the Na'Vi side, we have got Funnick playing the Lone Druid at the bottom lane. Mid lane, we've got Dendi on the Skywrath Mage, Puppey playing his trademark Chen, Kuroki on the Rubik, and finally, it is going to be Havost playing the safe lane farming Alchemist.
Has been pulled a single set of tangos, starting with the Stout Shield, and well, he may have the lane to himself. Off the bat, Bulba is going to start in the jungle. We'll see if he heads up to the lane after he hits level 2, but up against Telekinesis Lift as well as Alchemist Stun, and possibly a Chen coming to the lane, he may be best off just jungling, because frankly, they can easily kill him at level 2 or 3 if they catch him.
Yeah, I think you've got to be very, very careful. I like what Liquid have done, going for a sort of a semi-dual lane at mid. Fluff going straight mid, throws one mana burn, probably going to throw this second one as well. And the problem for Dendi is he's not going for a fast bottle, so he's not going to be getting this mana back until he farms that enough gold for it.
He might go for a kill here on TC.
God.
Not quite yet. If he had one more Arcane Bolt, that's almost certainly first blood. There was no salve on TC. No easy way out. But in the end, we'll see Funnick doing some work with his bear. Look at Fluff trying to block the creeps, so they'll turn around. But instead, they are still in aggro range. Now he's going to try again, but Funnick will bring that trusty bear back. He's getting the creeps towards the tower, and for the time being, they're not able to kill it. Keeper of the Light as well as Nyx, not really the best two heroes to punish this bear and bring it down early.
Yeah, you don't really... You need someone with a stun or a proper lockdown, and Nyx Assassin going for the level 1 mana burn, which I like that he did. He went straight mid, mana burns Dendi, and that pretty much helped TC so much in this mid lane. TC gets his bottle up, Dendi still 200 gold away from him, and if Dendi misses a couple of last hits here, this mid lane gets a lot harder for him to dominate.
As you say that, you jinxed him, gods. He misses the last hit. You've got money on Liquid. I'm calling it now, but... Well, of course, Dendi should be able to get that bottle soon, though. Just needs, I think, 3 creeps, I guess, and he'll have it. So let's see if he can get it now. But in the meantime, Puppey roaming around his own jungle, just looking to find a little bit of extra golden experience, and he'll send the GG Wildkin mid. So this is where the backup will come from. It'll be the Tornado, and this should allow Dendi to safely farm that bottle.
Yeah, Puppey going to start stacking. That's the other thing you can do with this GG Wildkin is stack neutrals. But right now, Puppey just needs to start killing some things. He can't actually do a whole lot right now. He hasn't actually got any stacks, apart from Mud Golems with a Centaur stack, so not a whole lot there. Puppey Invis walks over a Sentry Ward. I don't see him getting a kill here.
Under cover of an Invis wound, but yeah, like you said, was spotted out.
Yeah, the Sentry Ward should have seen him if TC had his eyes out.
Well, if he was watching that spot on the map, which I'm not sure, but even if he did it, well, maybe with Test of Faith, he hits level 3. Oh, this could be big, because Dendi, he doesn't have any mana, no, so yeah, it's going to be very
Dendi's bottle's coming, but it's very far away.
Puppey really wants this first blood. Boy, would that blow this game open for Na'Vi, who are currently...
Just leveled up, so I think he should be fine.
Yeah, well, it was a good effort anyway, but he has wasted quite a bit of time here. The creep's also not farming the jungle. He got 1 stack off. Unfortunately, that stack includes Mud Golems. I think ideally, looks to stack the big cap. He's going to be too late to do it. So not quite that extinct level of just constant stacking They're farming a little bit more emphasis on creating pressure in the lane, but not really able to succeed in that regard either. So, how are the overall trades going? Alchemist getting free farm and taking 2 points of Grievel's Greed early. The trade, of course, is Luna getting quite a bit.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Havos goes for the fast Midas here to really accelerate his GPM, or even the Battle Fury build that every now and then comes up from Alchemist. Because right now it looks like Havos is just going to go super ultra late game farmer with this heavy Grievel's Greed build.
And he might need to, because Funnick is level 2, and Funnick is not getting much out of the offlane. It's not bad, considering what he's up against, but it's not like he's getting a whole lot of... He's not getting that solo matchup for an offlane lone druid where you can hit level 5 at 6 minutes in or something like that. So, I think he does need to angle late game. The only concern is, Alchemist is kind of their one hero who can really man up and fight, if lone druid has a slow start. So if he goes too late game, and then Liquid start grouping, they might be in some trouble. So it's kind of a balancing act for Havost here.
Yeah, Havos does need to be careful, because Liquid have a lineup which can, dominate the mid game, really start taking down some towers, and if Havos is going Midas and all these other extra farming items, he's not able to sort of take part. If he's maybe skips the Shadow Blade build, where he can actually initiate with that, all of a sudden, Liquid get a really big lead, and there's no catching up for an Alchemist.
I see many of you are just joining us, probably wondering what happened with EG versus Alliance. That series is on hold, with EG currently trailing 0-1 in the best of 3. We had significant connectivity issues in between games 1 and 2, and then after, or during game 2, so we put game 2 on pause about 8 minutes in. We'll come back to it later. I think EG has gone on to play the Curse Invitational. This series, best of 3s, just getting us started now in TC. They'll go in, they'll lift him up and throw him back down. The Chen stun canceled, but didn't actually hit. Do they need it? That's the question. The wand charge is just enough. TC is gonna live if the Chen stun was able to connect, but unfortunately it just wasn't in range, so Puppey canceled it wisely, but couldn't find it in the end.
Yeah, and I love TC. He's still hanging around looking for one more Breath of Fire, and then he'll just look to scurry away. He needs to be careful because Dendi does have a nuke, but his bottle's back, so he's just going to keep on healing himself up and doesn't even have to leave the lane. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Funnick, this will be your first blood.
Very unlikely he gets out of here. Full Illuminate being channeled. Korok comes in. Mana Burn. Not going to secure the kill. Korok actually does it in the end. Thought that Mana Burn might take it, but wasn't the case. And now Korok up to level 6. So all of a sudden, Liquid could look to push a tower here if they'd like. And frankly, the Lone Druid, a great 1v1 hero, can do some sort of cute tricks with the bear to slow down a push, but can't really fully stop one by himself.
No, I think you can do okay just by pulling the creep wave using your Spirit Bear, but if you get caught out by a stun or something, you're almost guaranteed to be dead here.
And with Aluna having Tranquil Boot, she can run you down with a Lucent Beam. So we'll see. They'll probably won't push yet, but the option to push in a few minutes, 3 or 4 minutes, is certainly there. We'll see Puppey rotate back towards the middle lane with KuroKy.
2 more smokes on them as well.
Yeah, but no mana right now for KuroKy. He'll have to go all the way back to base, and it looks like he's going to do it. They're really emphasizing creating some pressure and space with these two in the early game. Often you'd see, say, a team like Orange, who loves to pick these kinds of heroes for Extinct and Net. They just sit back and farm and kind of play defensively. But Na'Vi, a much more aggressive approach from their 2 supports.
Well, this is the beauty of the solo mid DK. DK is out farming Skywrath right now. I mean, on paper, Skywrath should destroy a DK, but with the Bottle Crow, with the way TC's played this, with Dendi getting sort of mana burned at level 1, suddenly this is a dead even lane almost on farm. Slight edge even going TC's way.
And not to mention, not only is he winning the lane, but Na'Vi have invested more in trying to save this lane. Yeah. Sure, Nyx was here. He threw out 1 mana burn and he went bottom. You compare that to Na'Vi, they had Puppey sitting there for a good 45 seconds. He is still level 5 at 6.5 minutes. Use that Wildkin to great effect, it appears, and it's not like they're behind, but he could easily be, say, close to level 7 at this point if he had just been purely jungling the entire time.
Yep, and, well, another 2 hero supports rotating towards the mid lane. I think they've been spotted here, yeah. KuroKy coming in very far. Actually going to catch TC. Is he going to be brought down? His Sentinel Stock once again not going to land TC. He's got magic 1 charges, but not going to matter.
Too much.
Plenty of arcane boot.
Too much nuke damage, and that's sort of the beauty of Skywrath Mage is, sure, DK has high armor. Skywrath Mage doesn't care because he's all about the nuke. So at least until there's something like a BKB or even a cloak picked up, that's gonna hurt. And having that additional bonus damage coming from the Ancient Seal, or sorry, not the Ancient Seal. Which one is the one that? Oh, yeah, it is the Ancient Seal. Magic resistance reduction. It ends up making the nukes hit even harder. So they were able to burst down a fairly tanky hero despite the stun not landing.
Yeah, TCT lane picks himself up a Bracer. Could be going for a Drum of Endurance or just Bracer on its own. A pretty cost-effective item, especially on DK when you benefit from the HP, the mana, pretty drastically. And what Liquid have done is they took a trade at bottom lane. They got the tier 1 tower. Korok now up to 2.3k gold, so we can see a fast drum from him. Maybe even something like a Yasha for some extra movement speed, but I think Liquid realized TC's the one hero being focused quite a lot here, so they're going to send supports to sit behind him, including Bulba on the Darkseer.
How do you feel about the amount of emphasis they're putting? Oh, they're going to surge in Fluff middle lane, but that was just a little bit too far.
They got spotted by a ward as well on the high ground.
Yeah. Nice reaction. Nice effort by Liquid, I would say, to kind of find that kill. Do you really want to be putting this much effort into slowing down TC? It's not a one-core lineup, and Bulba's getting a ton out of the jungle. I wonder if it would be better for Na'Vi just to abuse the fact that they have Wildkins, they're on the Dire side, and they could just pull freely, get a lot of gold and experience from those stack camps, instead of trying to force the issue so much mid.
I think what they've done so far is okay. They're a little bit behind, but the behindness is just coming from Funnick being very underfarmed compared to Bulba. I think if anything, if we look at, apart from the offlaners, Na'Vi are on par / ahead because of the Alchemist being ridiculously farmed. And Dendi now, with that kill at mid, is going to be looking pretty good against TC. TC's been slowed down, and that's what was needed.
So Alchemist did, in the end, Havost went for the Midas. So that's one of the reasons why we see this experience gap starting to open up. Looks like I missed a kill middle lane. Sorry about that, folks. Dendi goes down. I imagine a surge into a Dragonite stun. Well, we had a long pause. I'm going to use that as my excuse, but my apologies, folks. We won't miss too many kills from here on out. TC going to be chipping away at the tower, and the creeps do what they can to slow this push down, but that's the other nice thing about solo mid DK. You hit level 6, you pop your Dragon Form, you just hit the tower once or twice, all of a sudden loses, I think it's like close to 100 HP per attack from that damage over time.
Yeah, it adds up pretty quickly, and well, something healed up. There's no Treant Protector in this game, luckily.
Unfortunately, if Na'Vi had it, they'd be sitting pretty, gods.
I would have described the situation quite differently, but
that's one way to look at it.
Each to his own. So Dendi's got his Arcane Boots now, so he can spam a whole lot more, and this lane gets harder for TC, even with all these Magic Wand charges of his.
Well, that's what Bottle Crow is for, and that's also what having two supports constantly parked mid is for, but they'll smoke, and they'll head top. They're going to defend their tier 1, whereas Na'Vi was perfectly content to give theirs up. IX Mike lurking deep behind enemy line, or behind his own lines, and now we'll see a surge in, but no actual go, just kind of waiting for that right moment. If they stay for this next creep wave, Na'Vi's probably going to lose too.
Yeah. Here we go. Na'Vi. Are they actually going to Havost? Havost does get the ultimate up. I don't know if they've got enough time to bring it down. They will with a Korok TP though. Havost. Illuminate takes out the creep wave. Hand of God. Not going to save him, it looks like.
Even so, he's still alive. Where's that 4 hero? Telekinesis lifted. Stun Korok's looking for a Lucent Beam. He can't find the angle. He's being fogged. There's your Lucent Beam. Needs one more hit. Still healing up. Run. Head for the hills of Ghost. He's probably going down. There's no mana. Actually, he's going to charge a stun. Under cover of fog, will toss it out, but just that last hit brings him down. If Korok didn't get him with that last hit, I think Havost might turn that around and at least kill Korok, because he'd be charging the stun the whole time in the fog. Would have been close, but in the end, they get the kill. And Liquid kind of LGDN-esque. They get their early levels on the Darkseer and the Luna, and they group, and they start to fight.
That was a really nice game. I mean, you had the 3 sort of support / utility heroes surging into fun. I'm thinking they're not going to kill Havost, but they brought the Luna in, and that was the X factor there. Luna comes very early to the action.
And that's the one great thing about the Luna. Sure, later on in a team fight, maybe her Eclipse doesn't do much, but just having the early points of Lunar Blessing, you can go and push. Oh, they had another kill there on Puppey, it looks like, but in the end, an early Impale, maybe a little bit of miscommunication. They'll decide not to go, but frankly, it's fine for Liquid. They've gotten 2 tier 1s. They're now up by 2,000 gold. Pretty even on experience. Na'Vi by no means out of this, but my bigger concern is they have a team that really wants to farm and get a lot of items and levels, and I feel like Liquid is much better equipped with all their stuns and nukes to just go fight now.
Yeah, Liquid are going to look to take down towers. Funny can't really get involved at all. He's got level 7, but that doesn't really matter because he hasn't got any items. He's not looking at an armor anytime soon, and whenever this DK ulti forms up, if they group up as 4 or 5, they've got a Darkseer mech now, they can take these outer towers one by one.
Call it 3 towers. All 3 outer towers now down for the count. KuroKy will steal Breathe Fire, so some additional counter push for Na'Vi, but it really feels like the noose is tightening. The one thing Liquid is lacking right now is aggressive wards. So they have the towers down. The next step is if they win a fight, get some wards down in the enemy jungle, in the middle lane, around this area, say, or even up here in the jungle, and just kind of see when they're rotating out, when they're trying to farm, because Na'Vi, again, they want to farm a lot. Liquid do want to strangle them, so I don't imagine we'll see them sit back for long. They may farm 1 or 2 of their cores, but they're going to keep the pressure up with Fluff. He goes in undercover of Vendetta now, looking for a kill. He will find Funnick here, and Funnick's not in ult form. This might cost him his life. It's going to be close.
You can see him with the sentry.
There's a sentry here. He needs an entangle, though. Oh, Fluff's going to back. But if he gets rooted, he gets rooted. Fluff's got to be screaming. He gets silenced, too. He can't get out. There's your Skywrath Mage ultimate. The Mystic Flare brings the pain, and down he'll go. That was an unfortunate route.
Of all the places to have a sentry ward, like, I guess, I don't know if they had to deward the Ancients being blocked or something, or maybe they were just expecting Nyx Assassin to go in there.
Yeah, it's one or the other. To be totally honest, I couldn't tell you. KuroKy actually going to have his smoke revealed. Korok looking for a Lucent Beam.
Misplay.
Well, thinking about it, a little moment of aggression there. Not going to go in. Bulba's already got a mech, by the way, so if Liquid want to fight, this is, well, yeah, it's really the perfect time to do it. I was going to say Puppey had one, but I got the two teams mixed up. Puppey, his might be coming, though. No, just a headdress, so he's quite far behind. I just feel like Liquid they really want to group and look towards a tier 2 in the next 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, I think they'll slowly work on one. Maybe even go for a smoke gank of themselves. They haven't really grouped up and tried anything like that. I think they were relying on the Vendetta gank there to get them a pick-off, because if they get a pick-off at bottom there, they can transition into pushing the tier 2 tower at bottom, but it completely backfires. It gives Na'Vi some breathing room, and Na'Vi, well, they're going to try and use this as best as possible to farm, because they need the mech of their own. They also want this Shadow Blade on Havos, because then they can look to initiate in.
We'll have to see what they can make happen with that Shadow Blade. If Liquid are prepared, they get an early gem or sentries, it can be kind of hit or miss for an Alchemist to go Might a Shadow Blade, because it's a great farming build. You can split push more aggressively. If you're left unchecked or if small engagements, it's fantastic. But if it comes to a head-on team fight, Midas doesn't offer you a whole lot aside from the levels. Shadow Blade, only so much. With all the stuns Liquid have, if they catch you, you're dead. So we'll see how it works, but for Na'Vi, they kind of want to evade the big fights, maybe find little engagements here or there. Liquid going for a Shadow Blade of their own on TC, and potentially we'll see them go, well, just some dewarding for the time being. So they're sitting back, they're farming on both sides. Liquid currently leading by 2,000 gold, even on experience. And Liquid's done a great job, to be honest, to be even when there's a Midas on the Alchemist mid lane TC. Well, that's a lot of nukes. Yeah, I'll go.
Liquid are kind of sitting back and farming. Na'Vi are sitting back and farming with both the two heroes who need a farm, Lone Druid and Alchemist, but the other three smoked up. I think it's their 4th smoke of the game. It's at least their 3rd. I think it's actually their 4th smoke of... No, okay, their 3rd. Puppey still has one. They've used 3 smokes very early on, and it's just with the supports, and all they're looking for is pickoffs. They know they can't take a team fight with just 3 heroes, but if they find a pickoff on a key hero like DK, it gives more space to both Alchemist as well as Lone Druid to, well, not really so much catch up in Alchemist's position, but just sort of to keep on farming and keep on progressing to that late game where Na'Vi will be much better off.
And for the time being, Liquid seems pretty content with the situation, not really making too many efforts for an aggressive group. They're kind of happy to sit back and farm, so then the question is, what items are they looking towards? IX Mike has a Force Staff coming up soon. We'll see Boba potentially building that next item, Vendetta, for Fluff. He's going to look for a kill bottom lane. Funnick isn't ult for him, but he's at about 900 AP. They'll start just with the Impale. Now TC blocked by all the creeps in the world. Now the wall deployed, but the Breathe Fire, not quite enough. The wall is going to do a little bit of chip damage, but in the end, they get the kill, they get out. The question is, will anyone else fall? Havos charging in. The stun isn't going to be there for the time being. He goes back into Vendetta. Na'Vi on the run. TC thinking about going in. He'll back off. And in the end, they force Navi's entire team to rotate to the bottom lane. And Liquid are now up 5-4 and looking to push.
Yeah, this is where Liquid should be able to get this out. They don't have the DK ulti form, which will make this a little bit harder. And also the Chen creeps here being a very, very pesky.
At the same time, with a Luna and with a DK with a double damage rune, those creeps are not living for long. Liquid could probably kill the rest of them if they wanted. It's just the Tornado that's really driving them back.
They're forced back.
As silly as it is, mostly the Tornado is what scares them off. And Na'Vi, I would still say a win for Liquid because Havost wasn't really farming during that time. Rotates to help his team. That's something Liquid are happy to do. They'll surge in now. TC.
Yeah, they see Havos, which is the big thing here. They've got complete vision of him, and he's going to try and wrap around, but Liquid see this coming.
There's an Ogre Club coming. Korok, he's working towards his BKB. Havos is going to come in invis. That's a long duration stun from Max Rage, but I don't think the DK is the one you want to initiate upon. Indeed, Na'Vi agrees. They will back off. Now TC hoping it back in the other way. A bit of a game of chicken here. Who's going to blink first? In the end, it's Havos. He stopped to farm some creeps, but very tanky in his own right. Vacuum catches a few. Boba eating big damage from that Skywrath Mage, but not out yet. Here comes your Eclipse. Korok trying to finish the job. He can't. Navi alive. Too many things to tank that Eclipse, as mentioned earlier. Where's the root when you need it? Kuroki, he's got a zap soon. The Fade Bolt will be enough. Takes down another. 3 heroes dead, and they ain't done just yet. They're still chasing. If they find a root on TC, he will go down for the count. The concussive shot, slowing TC down. Now the stun onto the bear, but they're still chasing. They need a lift. Kuroki, he can lift, but he can't run as fast as he would like. Where's that Chen Penitence? Not able to get range. They're gonna finish him with the final nuke. They chased him from their own tier 2 all the way to Liquids, and in the end, 4 heroes bite the dust. Liquid absolutely routed there.
He's praying that they did not see him go down there without a TP. It looks like he will be able to get out. He's going to spam an Illuminate, then they will know he's there, but Na'Vi have already backed off. The big issue there for Liquid is they went on the Alchemist. Alchemist was still an ulti form. For one thing, DK and Nyx Assassin, they stunned him at the same time. They stacked their stuns, but even if they didn't, that was not going to be a winning fight for them. Luna goes in with an Eclipse, which just gets tanked up by the creep wave, by the chain creeps, and mostly by the Spirit Bear from Lone Druid. They just don't really have the damage output right now to take a fight like that, especially when they blow their disables. That's where Liquid specialize. Having these disables, they can make up for their lack of damage, but when they blow those disables on the tanky Alchemist, they lose the fight.
And it's sort of the same story. Na'Vi, they didn't want to go on the Dragon Knight. The difference is they didn't. They threw one stun at him, and then they focused other heroes for the most part. And when they went on him, they had the burst damage because they have Skywrath Mage with a maxed Ancient Seal with a level 2 ultimate. Dendi chews through even a hero like Dragon Knight. This is where Liquid desperately need a BKB on the Luna, and ideally on the Dragon Knight too. Unfortunately, those won't be coming for a little bit, so until they do, I almost feel like Liquid, they can kind of siege the towers, they can put some pressure on, but they have to be very reluctant to make a full-on 5v5 fight, especially after the way that last one went, because every time you lose a fight in this game, you're losing a fight to a team with an Alchemist with a Midas, which means you turn your head for 2 seconds, Gods, he comes out with 3 tier 4 items.
Yeah.
And then what do you do?
That's going to get really hard for them. You look at DK, he's not scaling all too well. And that's, I think, the big thing Na'Vi has done. DK is a solo mid. Often you think you need to get the carry, but DK solo mid, if he gets under farm, he becomes very, very useless very fast. He needs that Shadow Blade as fast as possible, and it's been slowing down quite a lot. 0-3 on TC, and this means his ability to get involved in these team fights is pretty much just an ulti stun, a long-range stun, and then a Breath of Fire. But it's not going to be easy to get those good stun initiations without the Shadow Blade up.
And then it really falls to the Luna to do the bulk of the damage. And again, the issue is Eclipse isn't reliable damage, so it's really up to the auto attacks or just having the better initiation. Liquid could definitely still win big fights, and by no means are out of this game. As mentioned, they're barely behind in terms of gold or experience. It's more just they have to choose the right fights, and I think they kind of have to farm those next items. You really do want your BKB on Luna, the Dragon Knight Shadowblade, and then I think maybe you go for another smoke gank. You try and at least de-ward, potentially put some pressure on Na'Vi, but right now would be a dangerous time to go, and it looks like they're content to kind of play it slower, which I think is the right choice.
Yeah, they'll have mech as well as pipe on Darkseer soonish, not to mention just getting more levels. You've got a Nyx Assassin who, in the mid to late game, his mana burns are going to destroy the Skywrath Mage. It's like a Laguna Blade every time Dendi's face, if he's not careful. He's almost forced to silence the Nyx Assassin, but last fight he was silencing the Darkseer, so it'll be interesting to see who he prioritizes, who he looks to target. He's probably going to be telling Havost, you go for one, I'll silence the other, but right now, Havost, without a BKB or something, can't really just go rambling into the fight.
Who needs BKB? Wow. He's almost got a Heart of Tarrasque. Look at this. Revert Vitality Booster on the Courier. He's 3k gold ahead of our Luna. And what mid lane, we might see... No, just a Lucid Beam harassment of Puppey. And what's crazy, Gods, is he's only up by 9 CS. And Liquid, 1, 2, 3 outer towers down for them. Na'Vi of 0. Havost is up 3k when he's down 3 towers. Granted, one of them denied. And has barely more CS.
Yeah.
That's Alchemist for you.
It really is. Dendi himself has finished off a Rod of Atos, so we'll see him maybe looking to make something happen. Na'Vi use another smoke. Actually, I think Kuroki, not really smoke. It's only Puppey smoke, so this is...
It's a personal smoke.
Yeah, essentially a useless smoke, in other words.
No, it's a Puppey. Puppey gives himself the VIP treatment, alright. Okay. He's earned this one.
Wow.
But obviously not what he intended or hoped for, and instead they'll just kind of sit back and farm. At the rate they're farming, you gotta feel like Na'Vi are pretty peachy keen with this situation, and if Liquid go for this tier 2 top, Na'Vi are gonna go Roche. In fact, they're gonna go for it anyway. They see TC top, and I believe they're just thinking, well, there's no way he's there by himself. He must have back up. Let's go Roche.
Yeah, and they know that. Well, actually, there's a tier 1 mid tower that they can TP to. Na'Vi yet to take a single tower, and that really goes to show how well Na'Vi are doing. They're ahead in gold without taking any towers yet. They're going to get Roshan. Liquid is just too far to stop this.
This is so big for them. They have a Heart of Tarrasque, Shadow Blade, Midas, Treads,
top tower is under attack.
Alchemist. At 22 minutes, and even for an Alchemist, this is some pretty impressive farm, considering how active Havost has been in this game. I mean, it's by no means the highest GPM we've ever seen, but he's been coming to the fights, he's been rotating around the map, he's almost level 16. Once you get that level 3 rank in Chemical Rage, this hero becomes impossible to kill. And the other issue is he's kind of hard to ignore too, because if he goes on a support, even with a Shadow Blade Heart, he hits quite hard.
Oh yeah, he's got all the HP regen in the world. The Heart's an interesting item because he still isn't going to have all the best time fighting without a BKB, and at the same time, even if he is fighting, he's not going to be doing a ton of damage. So from here, he either needs to look for something like a Basher into an Abyssal Blade, maybe the Mjolnir to get some damage, but...
I think it's like you said earlier, they just want to angle this much more for late game.
Oh yeah, basically being unkillable is a surefire way to get to late game, and I think Na'Vi have decided if they get to late game, they win this game.
And with a Lone Druid with an Armlet now complete, Phase Boots up on the Bear, and mostly the Alchemist, they can take it quite late. Even Skywrath Mage, sure, eventually carries like DK as well as Luna likely of BKBs, at which point Skywrath Mage really does almost nothing to them. The problem is, Darkseer, Keeper of the Light, and Nyx are unlikely to get a BKB for at least 20-30 minutes, which means Dendy will still have plenty of other targets to focus.
Yeah, it's not too bad for Dendy as far as he just needs to sit back far enough that he's not getting mana burned by Nyx Assassin and he avoids all of these nukes, but Skywrath is really the perfect hero to do that with the long-range Arcane Bolt, the long-range cast of Mystic Flare. They've got this big buffer shield with the Lone Druid on the front lines as well as the Alchemist, so getting to Dendy is always going to be the hard part.
He has 3,400 HP at 24 minutes. I don't know if I've ever seen a hero this fat, this quickly. It's close anyway. In terms of just raw difficulty to kill, you throw an Assault Cuirass, even just a Plate Mail on him, and good luck.
You can see like Korok sitting on the high ground looking to position himself for maybe a good ultimate, but he probably clicks Havos and says, wait, this isn't going to work.
Even if Eclipse could hit all 7 beams on one target, it would probably do like half Havost's HP, including the regen as well as the magic reduction. So yeah, he's just like, well, this ain't happening. And then you throw the creeps in, the bear in, and it's just no way.
Well,
so the damage, it has to be the physical damage gods, because you just can't count on that magic damage, I feel.
And Luna goes for a BKB, which I think is a decent item to get. You need something, you need the additional survivability, especially against the Skywrath Mage, but this means any DPS gets slowing down quite badly, although Korok farming a big Ancient Sack will catch up a little bit here.
Yeah, he'll start to catch up and work towards that next item. Ultimately, late game, the Luna is the hero that could put out the most damage. DK, probably the hero that you just want to tank up as much as possible, be sort of that secondary source of damage and the initiator. TC will be the one in the front lines, and even a DK in the front lines. Again, I do feel he's somewhat vulnerable to just being burst down by Dendy, at least until he gets that BKB. Meanwhile, Na'Vi, they're looking at a tier 1. They're finding the better trades. They're going to find a tier 1 for free. They got a tier 1 for free mid. Liquid got nothing in return for that. They got a Roche for free, and Havos last hits it too. As though this guy needed more gold. He gets it. And Liquid, now they'll look for a tier 2, but Na'Vi, they can either take a tier 2 of their own or just back and defend.
I mean, at this point, it's almost better to give it to the Lone Druid so he can start getting his Assault Cuirass, because Havos is going to be maxed out by like 30 minutes or so.
Right, that's the Alchemist way. Max yourself out at 30 minutes, go try to win the game. Let's see if he gets there and looks to do it. They're lurking on the high ground.
I love how he channels the stun before he actually TPs, so if he is in range for someone, he can get that stun off.
And it's a long stun too. It's a very cute play and ensures they're fighting near your tower, but in the end they won't fight it. So instead they'll rotate top. Bulba working on that tier 1, he'll back off. I don't think Liquid really want to take a fight right now. Puppy's creeps will lead the way. The bear scouting things out, won't actually find anything to connect with, so in the end, they do back off. Liquid, they forced some Na'Vi TPs. They didn't get a tower, but they did a lot of damage to tier 2, so Liquid are doing the best they can given the situation. Problem is, the best they can doesn't feel good enough when we look at the gold graph and the experience graph. 4,000 lead for Na'Vi, 5,000 lead for them on experience, and more it's just strategically, I don't know how you kill these two carries. The Lone Druid, and also, by the way, we haven't even mentioned, they're backed up by a Chen with Hand of God mech and Senbak, not to mention an Aegis, so with that Aegis, Liquid just do not want to take a fight.
I think Liquid still have a small lifeline because they haven't answered everyone except Alchemist. Alchemist is just too tanky, too farmed to do anything about, but everyone else isn't too bad, isn't too highly farmed, but for Liquid, they're going to have to deal with the Alchemist sooner or later. They're trying to counterpush. They're going to get a tier 2 tower mid in exchange for, it looks like 2 towers top.
Yeah, so I think it's a decent trade by Liquid. Again, they just don't want to fight when the Aegis is up on Na'Vi, and they're actually going to threaten a tier 3, do a little bit of chip damage. That's a nice little trade for them. The Aegis should be ending fairly soon. Mystic Flare is going to completely whiff in the end. Dendy not able to connect there, and Well, they'll work on this tier 2, but meanwhile at the base, Na'Vi losing some structural HP here. They will teleport back. They take the tier 2 top. Blink Dagger now picked up for KuroKy. Fluff, he wants to cancel some TPs. He's gonna find a puppy all by his lonesome, but this one ain't gonna be taken into his home to be cared for. Oh, puppy, are you really sticking around? He is. Havos charging in. All by his lonesome. He wants to kill off IX Mike. KOROK will be the one who gets netted up. Look at the drop in his HP. He's just melting. But this is probably the most difficult fight he ever could have hoped for. He's sent back. He won't get back in time. He comes back, and he might just melt immediately. Not gonna be. Oh, is he able to get away? He's not in chemical range.
The sentry's too late. Oh, the vacuum from Bulba. He catches him just if they can bring down Havos. This is a lot of gold, a lot of XP going to Liquid.
I am actually shocked they stayed around. The tier 2 was dead. It's only a Keeper of the Light. Na'Vi just overconfident, and they pay big time.
To me, that worked for one reason. It worked because Nyx Assassin had scouted at Puppy. Puppy was thinking, Havos, just go do something stupid because I'll send you back. But Puppy went in to send him back, and he got impaled. Nyx Assassin was like watching for Puppy to come in and use that send back, and he zoned Puppy out of that fight. And then Havos is like, oh crap, I'm on my own. I'm dead.
On my own. And by the way, he had an Assault Cuirass completed in the stash, not delivered just yet. But the worst part is, he's dead for a long time. He'll come back in about 30 seconds. This does give Liquid a chance to get the lanes pushed out, and maybe get some good wards up. Something they'll need, because they just lost their tier 2 and tier 1 top. That's not so big of a deal, but they lost their tier 1's bottom and mid as well, and ultimately, Na'Vi still have a tier 2 bottom. So when it comes to Roshan control, they have that slight positional advantage. And the other thing is, Funnick's been farming this whole time as well. Quietly, but surely, he's been accruing some items of his own. He'll go for a Vlad, so it's just all about making this Alchemist even harder to kill. Lifesteal, Heart, Assault Cuirass. The armor aura doesn't stack, but he gets the lifesteal on top of it. Even more difficult to bring down.
Yeah, this is a pretty scary Alchemist. It's still Na'Vi's main weakness that they don't have a whole lot of damage output. Skywrath mates can do a lot of magic damage, but the physical damage, Voss does decent damage, but it's nowhere near some of the Alchemists you see where it's a DPS style build. Going for the Heart and Assault Cuirass isn't full DPS.
Well, that next Roshan's coming. Both teams are going to have their eyes on it. Na'Vi, Liquid, 5 heroes grouped up bottom lane. TC in the front. We'll see if Na'Vi takes the bait. They want to go for it. KuroKy's got that blink. He was thinking of a blink lift. He'll actually blink back just in the nick of time, because in comes a Surge Nyx. They find Funnick. They look for the stuns. 1, 2, count him and weep. Funnick's caught. He's trapped. Runs into the trees, tries to escape, gets vacuumed back towards KOROK. Down he'll go. That's one down. Can they take down some more? The BKB for TC as well as KOROK. Both of them used. Now wearing off. They'll throw TC back. In comes... Oh my goodness! Look at the damage from Havos. He finds one. He wants some more. Can he get him on the back lines instead? He snipes off TC after the duration of that BKB wears off. And unfortunately, Havos is still at full HP. I don't see it changing anytime soon. They'll stun him. His ult will end. And yet, look, now it starts to melt, actually. With the ult being down, maybe, just maybe, they can bring him down. Centaur Stomp is there. Fluff looks for the TP. Can he get out of time? He cannot. That's 4 dead. Call it maybe 5. No, in the end, our Dragonite will escape. That was without the Aegis. I mean, that's the difference between fighting 2v5 top and fighting 5v5.
Yeah.
And that was with the Lone Druid getting picked off right off the bat.
Lone Druid gets picked off right off the bat. Liquid still lose the fight here. Voss just too big, too farm. They need to focus the other heroes while somehow trying to manage to chain stun and just keep Voss out of the fight. But he Shadow Blade in, popped the Keeper of the Light, moved on to the next target, and at no point was he stunned. That last DK stun went out on the Chen. It needed to go onto Voss, but even so, even if it goes on Voss, you're not killing him, you're not killing the Chen, you're just sort of using it to retreat with.
To be fair, they threw a lot at that Lone Druid. They threw a wall, a vacuum, 2 BKB charges. I didn't see if the Eclipse didn't actually go off in the end, so they didn't use that, but they also threw a Nyx stun. Again, a bit stacked with the DK stun, although I do think they needed 2 in the end to kill him. They just threw so much at the Lone Druid, there was nothing left for the Alchemist.
Yeah, it really isn't. So we'll see where Liquid look to go from here. They're not out of this by any means. We are going to be seeing Bulba. He's picked up an Ogre Club, which... at this point, maybe we're looking towards Aghanim Scepter. The boost in the illusion damage with an Alchemist on the other team it's going to be pretty decent for him.
Yeah, I mean, they'll get the Assault Cuirass aura for their own side. They won't get the Vlads if it's on the Bear, but it's actually on the hero, so they could get that too. IX Mike, maybe not. Force Staffs himself away to freedom.
Nice.
Well, that's the beauty of being farmed. Unfortunately, there's a drum charge as well as that natural move speed from Rabid. Chasing IX Mike down. He wants to teleport out. He's got to buy a TP scroll. It's a headlong dash, but he won't get there. Dendi cuts off the retreat and executes him in a fiery call down. He gets the kill. And Liquid, now they'll have to trade. They'll try and push top. They'll try and push in mid. They will not try and fight bottom. And Roche, it's back up right now. That may cost them Roche.
Well, look at the tier 2 top out of this. They'll even start chipping away at these tier 2. I think Liquid know it's up, and they're going to be expecting Na'Vi there, so they'll look to get a bit sort of risky and aggressive with these pushes. Maybe start chipping away at these tier 3 towers. They're not going to be able to get any, I imagine, but any damage they do is damage that could help them out later on.
Remember, this tower already took a lot of damage mid. The tier 2 going to be, if TC was hitting it, it would really be dropping, but they're worried about committing him. They know Fluff can get out of there a bit easier and isn't as important. Havost will get the Aegis again. Let's see if he's able to make a little bit more effective use out of it this time. They did use it effectively just in terms of pushing, but at some point they're going to have to take a fight, and you would like, if you're a Na'Vi fan, for the Aegis to be used to actually help you win that fight. If you're Liquid, you gotta wait this Aegis out again. The problem is there aren't as many towers left to wait it out with, Gods. And, I mean, looking towards the late game, it's actually very even in terms of gold and experience. I think we felt like, at least through the mid game, Luna wouldn't be able to do much. But now Korok has a Butterfly, and all of a sudden, Korok maybe completes a Satanic, works towards a Daedalus, the Dragon Knight gets up his next item, and all of a sudden Liquid could have a shot. This is where Alchemist does start to peak off a bit in terms of his damage output.
Oh yeah, I'm okay with Liquid's position right now. I think they're still in this with a pretty decent shot, considering how Luna's managed to keep up on farm, has done really well with the Butterfly. DK himself just picks up a Helm on the Dominator, has 2k gold on top, so it's going to be a pretty farm DK and Luna, but DK caught out at bottom. He could go down here. No BKB pop yet, and he's already dead.
Oh my goodness. Look at how fast this Alchemist attacks. And oh, by the way, he pushes pretty damn well in a pinch too. Just slicing, slapping, and chopping away. Actually reminds me of the Slap Chop commercial. He's just dicing this tower into little pieces like a few tomatoes stuffed together. The wall is deployed, catches everyone. Unfortunately, where's the follow-up? The BKB from Denny protects him from the Eclipse. Hand of God, that turnaround from Alchemist, but losing the man fight to the Butterfly of Korok for the time being. If Havost dies, he comes back without Chemical Rage. He's gonna drop. There's no backup here. Hand of God's been thrown out. Havost is gonna die twice, almost certainly. The buyback from TC. Adley drops so quickly. Not even a chance. The stolen Alchemist doing work, giving the Assault Cuirass illusion, the minus armor debuff to enemy heroes. That wall catches 5, completely turns the fight.
Yeah, fantastic wall from Bulba. He keeps Liquid in the game after that DK pickoff, although DK did buy back for that fight. Kuroki, as always on his Rubik, steals some big spells, but he didn't actually get to use the Eclipse, which he stole. And Liquid now marching down the middle lane. Alchemist has buyback ready, so I think Liquid are in for a bit of a surprise if they try and commit to this. They'll probably back off as soon as they see the buyback, but if they overcommit, they may be too late to back off.
Yeah, it's like you mentioned earlier, he might start charging the stun at Fountain, TP into the tower, and all of a sudden if he catches one and Liquid don't just give that hero up, they can lose 2 or 3, but they're going to commit to this. Working on the tower, there is no glyph. Liquid want to force that buyback out. Pipe is deployed by Bulba. He's surrounded and trapped by creeps. Now Kuroki able to bring him back. The Mystic Flare, not quite enough. Bulba gets force staff to safety. Just barely at that. Our Alchemist still waiting 20 seconds to respawn. Are they really going to give up the racks? They don't.
I think they're baiting it.
They're waiting a long time to bait it, though. The entangle, what a time for an entangle, but BKB was wisely held in reserve by Korok. They get the buyback out, and they force the buyback out, and they get nothing for it on the side of Na'Vi. Great play from Liquid.
Na'Vi were trying to use that buyback at a time so that he could TP in, maybe when as telekinesis is getting used, then start a fight. Because if Na'Vi want to use the Alchemist buyback, they want to fight. They want to try and get a good 5-on-5 engagement, but Liquid immediately back off. No one gets caught out by a blink telekinesis or anything, and they get out of there with a tier 3 tower. So a really good fight for Liquid, and they get almost breaking even as far as gold earn goes. And Korok up to 2k gold. We're going to see him start building towards a Satanic, I imagine, next. Things are looking up for Liquid.
Yeah, looking better and better. And a hero like Dragon Knight can kite an Alchemist late game. He doesn't have a BKB like you mentioned. He can be chain stunned and chain disabled. Between the Dragon Tail, even a Lucid Bee with the decent mini stun, Nyx and his Carapace as well as Impale, they have enough, even something like Monolith, that's enough to kite and lock down Havost. Then you throw the Frost Dragon Breath on top of it. Even if Havost is hitting a hero, we also saw earlier in that last fight, he doesn't necessarily win the man fights, especially not when he's fighting against the illusions of himself that give the minus armor towards him and hurt him, not to mention the physical damage of a Luna as well as a Dragon Knight. So all of a sudden, Liquid, they've never been out of this game. We never really counted them out, but they're really crawling and kind of forcing their way back into it. And Na'Vi, you gotta wonder if maybe they just got a little too greedy with how much they farmed, and if kind of blowing that Aegis top for not a whole lot and losing Havost again, all those little decisions feel like they're starting to add up.
I feel like we were wrong, LD. Na'Vi do not have the better late game. They Alchemist, fantastic late game. Lone Druid can be, but this Lone Druid's very poor. The thing is, where Liquid have a better late game is their supports, their utility heroes. Darkseer, Wall of Replica, Vacuum, great in late game. Nyx Assassin, you've got an AoE stun. Mana Burn is going to be great against the Skywrath Mage, and then Keeper of the Light, not the ultimate late game hero, but it's the ultimate itself is what's going to be the late game spell. Having Recall and Blinding Light late game scenario against an Alchemist is fantastic, and this is an Alchemist without BKB, so Blinding Light really going to hurt him. If you look at what Na'Vi have late game, it's very poor, apart from Alchemist.
Well, a lot of it's not helped by the fact that Alchemist has everything, and Lone Druid has very little. I feel if they were more evenly distributed, it might be better for them late, but when Alchemist doesn't have a BKB and has all your farm, and Liquid have this many stuns, he could just die, and Liquid have the light up to deal with one carry. So many single target stuns, so much lockdown, and enough physical damage at this point to bring him down, so I fully agree with you. I feel maybe it's a bit different if Funnick has more farm, if, say, our Rubik has a little bit more and is able to more reliably steal spells, stay alive longer, even if, say, Puppey has some extra utility items for his team. But at the end of the day, it's definitely true that heroes like Nyx Assassin and Darkseer, especially the Darkseer, are just going to offer more than something like a Chen. Chen is a hero that falls off, and it's really starting to.
I think Navi's plan is going to be going for a big smoke gang soon. They want to try find DK since he's the one without buyback. Picking off the Luna won't win them the game, although it is still a good, useful kill nonetheless. Maybe the Darkseer as well is going to be the other hero. If they can kill Darkseer, that could win them a fight and get them some Raxes. They need to find pickoffs, and right now their lineup isn't too good for that, apart from the Blink Rubik telekinesis. So I feel the only way they're going to do that is with a smoke gang.
And now Korok's working towards what I imagine will be a Satanic for him, and then it's just straight on to the next set of damage items, be it something like an MKB, a Daedalus, even a Manta style could be fantastic, and it will be a BKB, completed for Havo, something he needed, but now the question is it too late? Because now there's enough physical damage where, sure, you're magic immune, but I still feel like you'll melt. If you get caught and you're by yourself, I don't know that you fight your way out of that one. And the Frost Dragon Slow, of course, goes through BKB, and TC does have it now, so potentially won't be enough, but still an item he needs, regardless of if it will be enough or not.
And on top of that, his damage is just average, I would say. Considering we're at 37 minutes in, he's a maxed out Alchemist. Normally, you'd want one of these items to be a damage item, whether it's a Mjolnir or an Abyssal Blade. Having neither of these items as an Alchemist means he's not hitting very hard.
Yeah, one of Alchemist's great strengths is his Chemical Rage, which gives him such a low base attack time that any attack speed items make him incredibly strong in 1v1 engagements. That's why Abyssal Blade is so great on him, because he can just chain bash you. More so than almost any other hero outside of something like a Troll Warlord, but not able to find that Abyssal Blade, just yet rather choosing not to go for it.
The item he might go for is an MKB to deal with the Butterfly as well as the Blinding Light. Sell the Midas, get the MKB, but he still needs quite a bit more gold for that, because he wants to make sure he has buyback as well.
Sell the Midas? Never. Never.
You've got to.
At some point, he'll sell it.
At some point, you run out of money for the hand of money to collect.
You know, the other problem is they don't have a Sight Device, and that's how they were Dendi. Really, you want him to farm that. That's how you can burst a hero like Luna down. Unfortunately, Dendi, he's gone for a BKB, as well as a Rod of Atos, which are both items that are understandable, getting good to get.
Puppey.
Oh, Puppey! Just barely able to TP away. But aren't going to help you right now. Right now, you'd really rather have a Sight Device if you could farm it.
I love this little cheeky item TC's getting. He's going to go for a Heaven's Halberd now as well to add additional evasion to himself, as well as having the disarm. BKB can get out of the disarm, but just the evasion alone is pretty justified against both Lone Druid and Alchemist. The magic damage, well, you've got the BKB for it, but even when BKB is off, it's only Skywrath Mage, really.
I feel this bear will do nothing. It's too squishy at this point. It's just going to melt to anything that Liquid throws away, so it really just is the Alchemist. If the Lone Druid had multiple big items, maybe he could take the game late. We've certainly seen Lone Druid can go ultra late game. LGD proved that in their 90-minute epic. Oh god, it's been like 4 or 5 months at this point. But for the most part, that hero needs a ton of farm to go late, because the bear does die pretty early, pretty easily later on. And, well, for the time being, just not getting the farm he needs. So it's all up to Havost. And Havost we trust. That's going to be Navi's motto the rest of the way.
Oh yeah, and the problem is he's not getting any scary, not getting much bigger right now, apart from that Midas cell. And if we look at this game going 50, 60 minutes, I don't imagine many of these Na'Vi heroes getting much more in terms of items, because it's Havost pushing out farming all the lanes. Maybe Funnick gets one more item, but for Liquid it's a different story. They have DK farming, they have Luna farming, they've got the 2 carry strategy up against what's become a 1 carry strategy for Na'Vi, and that's with a Lone Druid there.
And of course, like you mentioned, I mean, in a way, Darkseer is a carry too. If he gets an illusion of the Alchemist all of a sudden, even the Lone Druid for the Vlad Zara, that's going to help them too. Just the plus damage is obviously very nice, and we'll see. Liquid smoked up, looking for a confrontation right now. Na'Vi kind of have the better position here, being parked on the high ground. Denny's actually farming for the low ground. It's going to be a surge from TC. Look for the Frost Dragon stun. Can he find it? He will start with the slow on Puppey. It's actually Havost who gets caught at the entrance. Man up from Denny. Blows up our Nyx Assassin off the bat, but Havost is trapped between his own illusions and a Frost Dragon epicenter. No way out for him. Maybe there is. He goes back into the fight. Wall was stolen by KuroKy. They have a Frost Dragon of their own. But in the end, it looks like this Alchemist is going to go down. Where's the help? No, it's not enough. Havost is going to live. It's a team wipe for Na'Vi. The stolen wall. They focus the Alchemist again, but he's just too tanky to bring down. Wow, great play. And it also came down to Fluff and stuff just getting blown up by Dendi right off the bat.
They can't afford to lose Nyx Assassin in these fights. And Na'Vi with a great wall steal from KuroKy. I think it was just a combination of such great positioning there. Liquid fighting in a very undesirable position, and Na'Vi get a complete team wipe, only losing Chen. They're going to get at least one set of Raxes, going for a second here. And, well, very little Liquid can do to stop this. They have buyback on Luna, but Luna buying back will not be able to stop these Raxes going down.
You know, there's that old saying, don't base race versus Lone Druid. It's also, don't lose a team fight late game to Lone Druid, because then you lose your whole base. And right now, Na'Vi looking at taking that entire base. They're going for Mega Creeps. They're going for the Jugular, and then they'll leave Liquid to bleed out while they go back and kind of rest on their laurels and prepare for game 2. Liquid down Mega Creeps, pretty much no way back in if they give them up. They'll have to fight now. Unfortunately, there's no wall. There's no big damage. Both carries on the sidelines. They do have buyback, but just not even bothering to. So you got to imagine Liquid basically saying, this game is over. Let's talk about how we're going to play the next game. Now the BKB comes out from Havost. We might see a few more kills before it's all said and done. Havost charging in.
I think this is it for Liquid. They're going to try and win a fight here and then just go straight down mid with 5 heroes. They've lost Mega Creeps. It's still winnable. It's one of those things, Mega Creeps is not always the end of the game right now, but Liquid, they pretty much have to go 5-man mid.
Problem is going to be Havost has buyback, Funnick has buyback, Dendi has buyback. All of Navi's core heroes, aside from the even the Rubik does. Actually, call it 5 buybacks available, and they'll GG out.
Okay, they discuss things, they decide. Na'Vi, in spectacular fashion, they took game 1. Towards the end, I was doubting them. It looked like they'd lost it, but with one big team fight, it goes from a dead even gold graph to over 10k with all of Liquid's base being droid down, and that's game 1. Going to Na'Vi. Game 2 we're coming up soon, though, and I can't wait to see how Liquid look to bounce back there.
It was really a great performance from Liquid until that one fight. It was just an awful angle for them. They had the wall, and I suppose felt with the wall at their disposal, they would end up having the significant advantage in a congested choke point, but Fluff and stuff getting picked off early by some great play from Denny, silencing him and blowing him up with the Mystic Flare, and then the wall being stolen by KuroKy, as well as the decision to focus Havost, who frankly takes forever and a day to kill. All those little decisions add up. Na'Vi, they find the better fight, and they make it work, and they take game 1. They're now out to a quick 1-0 lead. In an elimination game, Liquid, if they lose this series, they go home. It's a best of 3. Stay tuned for game 2, guys. It's coming up soon. It's Mother's Day. I think my mama's even calling me now, so I'll wish her a quick Mother's Day. You guys should wish your own well as well. But with that being said, stay tuned for game 2. I'm LD Beyond the Summit. I'm joined here by Gods. I can't believe the turnout we're having. 48,000 of you already. I hope to see even more. Tell your friends, tell your family, the WePlay.tv playoffs, it all ends here tonight, even if we go for another 8 hours. It's gonna be done before the Western qualifiers for the International 3 kick off then. I'm LD, he's Gods. Stay tuned, guys. Game 2 coming up next.